All right, so we're going to do day 2 of 9.1. Today we're going to cover trapezoids, kites, and rhombus. So you just put the formulas on your formula sheet. I just want to make sure that you know the 5 steps from yesterday. So the 5 steps from yesterday, the first thing you want to do is make sure that first you identify the figure. So usually it's just going to tell you either in the directions or there's going to be a picture of it. Just write down what it is. Second, you're going to write down the correct formula. Third, you're going to substitute in those values that are given to you. Fourth, use a calculator to calculate it out. And then the last thing you want to do is to attach the correct units. All right? So we're going to start with example number 3. Why? Because we did 2 examples yesterday. So you can either call it 1 or you can call it 3. It's kind of up to you. And we're going to find the area of a trapezoid. Given base 1 is 8 inches, base 2 is 5 inches, and the height is 6.2 inches. So step number 1, you just want to identify what the figure is. Nice of them, just circle it, it's a trapezoid, right? If it helps, you're going to want to draw a picture of a trapezoid. If you're not very good at drawing, you can simply take your formula sheet, stick it underneath your paper, and trace it. Okay, if that works for you. So we're going to fill in these values. One base is 8 inches, the other base is 5 inches. Technically, it doesn't matter which one you label which, but since this one's a little bit longer, I'll make that one this one down here. And this one's a little bit shorter, so I'll call this one base 2, 5 inches. And then there's a height of 6.2, so I'm going to dash it in right here and call the height 6.2 inches. All right, so that's all the values I need for my formula, so I don't have to use the Pythagorean theorem first. I'm simply going to get the formula off my formula sheet, which is to add the 2 bases and divide by 2. So I'm going to find their average length and then multiply it times the height. All right? Second step or third step, I'm going to plug in the values. So for base 1, I've got 8. For base 2, I've got 5. So I'm going to say 8 plus 5 and divide that by 2. Multiply that by the height, which is 6.2.
Do you have your pennies for possible?
So you're going to take your calculator and you're going to simplify. You're going to add 8 plus 5. Then you're going to divide that by 2. Then you're going to multiply that times 6.2. That's going to get you 40.3. So the area is going to be equal to 40.3. Are you done? No, you have one more step. You need to attach the units. So they gave you that it's inches. So I'm going to say inches what? Squared. And you're done. All right. Any questions on example number 3 there? All right. Let's try another figure. Example number 4. We're going to find diagonal 2 of a kite. I almost wrote kite, in which diagonal 1 is 14 inches and the area is 238 inches squared. All right, so here's the good news. They tell us right in the question what kind of figure it is. It's a kite. Awesome. So we can look on our formula sheet and get that formula. We know that it's diagonal 1 times diagonal 2, and then divide by 2. I'm also just going to draw a kite. And I know that I need to dash in some diagonals. One of them we don't know, so diagonal 2, for right now, we'll call it X, and diagonal 1 is 14 inches. And the whole area is 238. So that's what gets substituted in for A, for area. A equals 238. So diagonal 1, we know is 14 inches. Diagonal 2, we don't know. You can either call it X, or in this case, you could call it D2, whatever variable you like. And then divide it by 2. That 2 there is just part of the formula. So now I'm going to do inverse operations till I get that X by itself. Right now it's being divided by 2, so I'm going to multiply by 2. So that they cancel over here. And then on my calculator, I'm going to multiply 2 times 238, and I get 476. And I'm left with 14x. That x is being multiplied by 14, so I divide both sides by 14. Punch it in my calculator, and I get 34. Am I done? No, I need to attach units, right? What are the units? Well, the answer was given in inches squared, so I just need one of the diagonals. This diagonal is given in inches, so this is just in inches. Okay? Any questions on example number 4? All right, one more example. Example number 5. This time we're going to find the area of a rhombus. Where diagonal 1 is 8x plus 7, and that's in centimeters. And diagonal 2 is 14x minus 6. Oops, 14x minus 6, also in centimeters. Okay, so we got a little bit of algebra in this one, right? We have a binomial here and a binomial here. So if you remember from Algebra 1, when you have a binomial and another binomial, you're going to use a special little acronym called what? Anybody know? That's in geometry. How about FOIL? You guys remember FOIL? All right, so if we have a rhombus, okay, identify your figure. If it's in the question, just circle it. Write out your formula. Area is diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. I'm just going to sketch it real quick. Here's a rhombus, dash in some diagonals. One of them is 8x plus 7. And the other one is 14x minus 6. Doesn't matter which one is which. Not really, because when you multiply, order doesn't matter, right? If you multiply 3 times 5, you get the same answer as if you multiply 5 times 3. Okay? So now we're going to substitute in diagonal 1, which is 8x plus 7. And then we're going to multiply it by diagonal 2, which is 14x minus 6. Take that and divide it by 2. Okay? So the first thing we want to do is FOIL, which stands for first, outside, inside, last. Now, if your coefficients are only 2's and 3's, it's pretty easy to multiply in your head, but when you have 8 and 14, you're probably going to need a calculator, right? So first means to multiply 8x times 14x, which is 112x squared. That's our first. Now we're going to do outside. So 8x times negative 6, which is negative 48x. I stands for inside, so 7 times 14x. Again, use your calculator if you need help multiplying. And then L stands for last. So 7 times negative 6, which is negative 42. All over 2. Now what's nice is all of these coefficients are even, right? Which are all divisible by 2. So when we're done, we're going to be able to just divide by 2. But first I'm going to combine these two together, right? Because they're like terms. So I have 112x squared. Put these two together, gets us 50x minus 42 divided by 2. So I just divide everything by 2. That leaves me with 56x squared plus 25x minus 21. So your answer is going to have algebra in it. Why? Because your question had algebra in it. Okay? You shouldn't end up with just a number if you start with some algebra. Okay, so this is the answer, but we need to add units. So these were in centimeters, so we're going to say centimeters squared. All right, finish copying that down.